afternoon and welcome back. Here's a quick video on how to get the fuel tank off of your Honda Valkyrie. This is a 1998 G1500 and we're going to take the fuel tank off of it. This will be per the factory manual. It's just be a short video. It's pretty simple to get it off. Obviously if it has a lot of gas in it, it's going to be kind of heavy because it holds a fair amount, but I think you can handle it. So without further ado, let's take off the gas tank. The first step is take your ignition key, stick it in the seat lock mechanism here, and then lift your seat. And it'll unlatch here. It just comes off like that, nothing to it. Then get yourself a screwdriver, Phillips head or JIS, stick it right in this hole on the gas tank selector, fuel selector. And in the very bottom of that hole, it's quite a ways in the very bottom of that hole is a Phillips head screw, which you kind of got to feel around and get into. And then just turn that screw loose. Keep turning it. And then pull your fuel selector out. Next, take an 8mm socket with a couple or 3-inch extension and loosen both of these engine mount bracket bolts here. These are the 8mm ones to the back. Take this one clear out. That's the one that's right over this escutcheon for the fuel valve. And then we want to go ahead and just loosen this other one. And then take this off. Just need to loosen this one a couple turns. And take this off. Looking right in here, there's the fuel valve. We took the handle off of it. That's the main fuel line from the valve right here. So it comes down through a siphon tube in the gas tank into this valve body, goes out to the engine right here. And this piece of fuel line. So we're going to reach in there and move this clamp. I might be able to just do it with my fingers. Yeah, there we go. We're going to move that clamp back out of the way there. And then we're going to reach in there with a hose plier. And we're going to pull that hose off. Now make sure your fuel valve was shut off when you did this. Okay, there's the fuel valve, and right behind it, you can't really see it very well, but there's a vacuum line right behind it. You need to pull that too. Right there. See it? There it is right there. Let's pull that. Be gentle with these old lines if you can. Don't break them. Don't crack them. If they're that bad, you should be replaced. I haven't gotten that far yet on this project, obviously. So that's off, and then there's one more right up here, but we're going to wait on that until we get the tank loose. Take a 12mm socket and just take this lower tank bolt out. And it'll have this insert for it right here. Just keep those together. Next thing, take a long wobbly extension with an 8mm and get this tank bolt on the front. Right there, and it also has one of these sort of things on it. The next thing you're going to want to do is get in here and lift up the back of the tank and slip a wood block under it. Lift the back of the tank, slip a wood block under there like that. If you look under the back of the tank right here, you'll see this line right here. That line has to come off. That's a vent that goes down to the emissions canister, the charcoal canister for the evap system. This is California emissions only. I don't think your bike, if it's not California emissions, has this tube, but if it does, you'll need to undo it. So I'm going to use a long plier. Try to work this clamp off, not down the hose, but off the hose, off the front or top of the hose here. These clamps fit very tight, and they're very hard to get them over the little hump on the tube that the hose is slid over. So it's better to just go off the end here, push it off the end if you can, and there. Push it off the end if you can, and so that you can get it off. Otherwise, you won't be able to move it very far. Then I'm going to take this hose plier. I'm going to stick it in here. It's kind of too big for this, but I'm just going to try to. That's not going to work. I'll take this one and see if I can work it off of here. Funny thing about this bike, you got to pull the tank to check the air filter on it. I think that's kind of crazy, but I suppose I see why they had to do it that way. Just try whatever arrangement of pliers and so forth works to where you can spin that line, break it loose. Here's the thing, don't knock this out of here while you're working and have this tank come down on your fingers. Don't do that. Just be gentle, take your time, it'll come. Remember, the tank is not bolted down, so make your moves accordingly. I'm almost there. Just a little bit more and I'll have it. I'm just pulling on the hose and pushing down with the pliers a little bit, and I think it should come. There it went. And get the hose clip. There's the clip. Okay, now all three lines are off the tank. Lock that back. Stick that out of the way. Okay, now we're going to bring the bike down to the floor. And I always like to disconnect the air to that. Okay, now it's important to plan your move. Your move to pick up the tank, move it out without hitting any obstructions or damaging the tank, and then having a place to set it. So I've planned to set my tank right down there on that cardboard box that's stuffed full of paper. It's a packing box that I just got some parts in, and it's full of that packing paper. So that should be a pretty safe place to set my gas tank while I have it off. Next, this is simply a matter of taking your wood block out, sliding the tank back just a little bit so you can pick it up from the front, and then take it over to where you had planned to set it. Here's the next thing. If you on this is your air box right here. On this air box, there's 2, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9 screws. 2, 4, 6, 8, 9 screws. And so when you have those loose, just back them all out. I've got them all loose already. Should be able to just lift straight up, and this cover will come off. And expose your air filter. This one looks really good. It looks basically new. Yeah, pretty new. And then your air box down in here with your 6 carburetor air intakes are down in there. So that's pretty simple to do. There's a rubber gasket in this groove and a rubber gasket in the groove here on this cover. Just make sure that those are both in where they're supposed to be. Take your new air filter with the little notch here, goes forward, and it drops right down into that groove. Then this cover drops down on top of that. It's a little line in here you have to kind of get around. There. And then just take and tighten these Phillips head screws back up. Don't over tighten them, you don't want to crack the air box. Just run them down snug. There you go, all secured, ready to put your tank back on. Okay, now we're going to reinstall the tank. Put your wood block in place. Get your gas tank. Be very careful with it. Don't hit it on anything. Don't chip your paint. Get in here and kind of set it down in where it's supposed to go, like right there. Okay, leave your wood block in place for a little bit. There's a couple things that you need to do with that in there. Release the safety. Okay, so I just worked that clamp, this hose, that's the one that comes from back here, from the charcoal tank down below, comes up, bends around under here. That has to get hooked up right there. Okay. It's the light on there. You can see it right there. Okay, the next thing we need to do is put the tank down into position so that these hoses can be hooked up. They're too short to hook them up when a tank is out of in this weird position like this. So the tank needs to go back into its mounting position. So I'm going to get right up here and do that. Knock our wood block out of the way. Get a hold of the tank, get it up where it's supposed to be, and line up the rubber the rubber mount here at the base. Line up your hole at the top. Up in there, you might see it right here. That's the vacuum line that goes on this valve, on this fuel tank valve. This is from the right-hand side of the motorcycle. It's a little easier to get on from over here. Okay, next we got to hook this fuel line back up. So we've got its little spring clamp. Let's slide that over the petcock. I'm going to put the tube, the gas line on the petcock and push it on there, wiggle it on there. Okay, and then we'll hook its little spring clamp up. Okay, it's a bit of a struggle, but you can see it's on there now. The line is fully onto the valve here, and this clamp is on the line. It's a bit of a wrestling match. Don't give up. You'll get it. Next, put your rear tank bolt in. And here's the thing with this. Get this down in flat first, then drop this down, and then kind of hunt around a little with the tank until you get a couple of threads started. Like that. Same thing on this one, it's the smaller of the two. And just kind of hunt it around a little bit until you get a few threads started. Like that. Then get your 8 on the wobbly long extension. And go ahead and snug this one down. Then your 12 on the short extension. Tighten them down. You don't need your wood block anymore. Grab your seat. Back in first. Bring the front end up towards the tank there. Latch it down. Take your side cover. Lock in the tab on the front. Mine's broken off. I have a new side cover. Well, it's not new, it's good old stock, but this bike's getting painted, so anyway, it doesn't match, but at least it's not broken like this one. And then find your, put your latched in on the front. Hook your side cover. So there you go, that's how you take your fuel tank off. Check your air cleaner in the air box and put your fuel tank back on the 1998 Honda Valkyrie.